And we're live.
Cool beans. Yeah, we live here. It's your host, Tyler Burns, host of the Antidote Television Show. You can follow me on Twitter at Burns23. And we got special guests here for Kairos Week. In the right corner, we have producer extraordinaire hailing from the Northeast, Yukon, Doc Beats. You can follow him on Twitter, Doc_Beats, S not a Z. Did I get that right, Doc?
That's about right. What's going on?
Cool. It's a pleasure to have you. And on the left side, we have the man of the hour, Mr. Kairos himself, Armond. You can follow him at Armond. Wake Up, ARMOND. Wake Up, all one word, correct?
Yes, sir. What's going down?
Thank you, guys. So, Armond, you want to fill people in on what's going on?
Yeah. So basically, to celebrate Kairos Week, this is actually a year to the day that we released the project, May 21st, 2013. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to just kind of give back to everybody who supported and just kind of take some time out to, give some insight, as far as the putting the project together, what was going on with some of the songs, what's happened since then, some mistakes and successes and lessons that I've learned, all that stuff. I want to get real deep down into the core of, the stuff besides the music, because I know Doc's gonna laugh when I say this, but the music is easy. The music's the easy part. It's all the other stuff that's difficult.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about the other stuff.
Okay, if you say the music is easy, that's interesting. We're going to have to get into that. But let's hop right in. Let's dive in. Y'all good?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, both of you guys, I really want to get your feedback on this question. Did Kairos do what you thought it would do? And also, did it accomplish everything that you thought it would accomplish? Did the people receive it the way that you felt like they should have received it? Just expectations and the realization of those.
Doc, do you want to answer that first? Or
That's your question, man.
Yes and no. Did it do everything I thought it was going to do? To keep it real, I thought the Kairos was going go. I thought I was out of here. I thought I was going to get features on people's, I had a lot of heavyweights on that album. So, they released projects that year. I thought I was going to get some looks. I thought I was going to go on tour. I thought, I was going to get all this, this coverage and support, and I got it, but I didn't get it. And I think what it did was it really just kind of showed, it kind of revealed my motives to myself, because those motives were deep buried down in the depths of Kairos. On the surface, it was let's just link up with these people that I have respect for, that I like, and I think they'll fit, and yada yada. But then under that, it was yo, you want to get put on, you want to get on. And when I didn't get put on, I was upset. And when other people got put on, I was even more upset. And what it made me realize was that everybody has their own path. And if I have a fresh pair of sneakers on and I want to walk down somebody else's path, I'm going to have to walk through some mud and some grass to get to that other person's path. And I'm going to mess my sneakers up, if that makes sense. As opposed to if I stay on my own path, I'll be able to, keep creases from coming and stuff like that. So I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and if I sit there and I focus on what I didn't get without appreciating what I got, I would be doing myself and the people around me and the people who got it, I'd be doing them a disservice. So I didn't get what I wanted, but what I got was way better than what I wanted.
Doc, piggybacking off of that?
I don't know if I have any. I'm trying to think how I want to add that, because I mean, Armand's expectations for the project, him and I, we have very different. I don't want to say objectives, because we're working together on this. I mean, this is his baby, right? I mean, I'm not trying to say it was my project or anything like that. I produced I don't know, 5 songs, and I mixed a bunch of them, and I ended up mastering. I'm gonna use air quotes. Make sure y'all can see me mastering, because we learned a lot in the process. I mean, we basically bit off more than we could chew, and drove ourselves crazy to pull it off. So in terms of what it accomplished, I mean, it let us test some things out, right? I mean, like we talk in the show a lot about, hey, why is an artist doing their project like this? Because, you know, we think that we know everything. Obviously, that's the gimmick of the show, right? I'm giving away the secrets now. And, you know, some things we knew, yeah, we were right. And some things it was like, okay, this is harder than it looks, right? Like, you know, I mean, one thing I'll give Armond credit for is, I mean, Armond is still putting out stuff related to the project. Like, we always talk about, you know, don't abandon it, don't do whatever. And I'm sure the temptation for Armond was real strong, especially if he wasn't immediately, we'll say, 100% satisfied with the response. It must have been really tempting to be like, oh, okay, well, don't forget about me because I got this coming out. But, I mean, with exception, you know, with a few, you know, a couple random songs that might have got out there here and there, basically until Praise Break and Snooze Button 3, he sort of just, it was all Kairos all the time. And here we are, you know, a year later. So, like, in that sense, the ability to have that, to be able to have that actually kind of work in a sense, I really appreciated that. Like me, I was telling our mom before we got started, like, you know, when I think about in terms of accomplished, like I think I start to get really technical. Like, am I happy with how it sounds a year later? Did it accomplish what I wanted to accomplish? I'm so unhappy with all those mixes I did. It's so. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, man. I was gonna ask you because, and we can, and I actually want to ask you now since you brought it up. Like, you talked immediately following the album release about how you listened through to it again, and you were like, man, I would have changed this, I would have done this different, I would have adjusted, I would have altered. You talk about the feeling from you as a producer and as a mixer, kind of post a year later, looking back on it.
You know, we were so deep in the weeds, like towards the end, where we were when we were talking about songs, we weren't talking about how great is this song or how good is this song or what can we do to make it better. We're sitting here talking about stuff like, you know, that bass is hitting a little too much here, and like we almost like got to a point where we lost focus. Like I'm saying we, I mean maybe it's just me, but I think Armond would probably say the same thing. Like we sort of, you know, you get this on a project, especially. Kairos was a passion project for Armond. It became a passion project for myself when I really got on board. Like, you sort of start to lose sight in a sense. And then the other thing, just from like a technical perspective, with audio, it's so easy now to add stuff, or oh, I'm gonna plug this in, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna layer this. You have these infinite capabilities, and you end up just getting so far down the rabbit hole, you almost forgot what the song sounded like. You know, I struggle with the mix for Dreamer for goodness. 18 months. I mean, you know, and honestly, we were doing research for the show. We were doing, I think it was the Neptunes retrospective, and I was in my car listening to how a certain song was mixed, and I was instantly just like, what? I immediately rushed home, and I knew exactly what I had to fix about Dreamer, and the problem was I was doing too much. So like, I would almost do less, if that makes sense. Like, if you record songs well, if you have a good ear, if you test it on a bunch of different systems and you make it sound good, like that really goes a long way. You know, for people who are just starting out or people who are independent, don't have a lot of great equipment, you get this temptation. It's just, oh, I need this plugin to take my sound to the next level. You don't need that plugin. Like, instead, you need to actually just make it sound good. You need to, if you want to use that plugin, you better know what it actually does. Right, like I'm getting real technical and nerdy, but like the problem is we kept looking for stuff like, oh, this doesn't quite sound right. Let me try to find something, and we were sort of racing ahead without the knowledge catching up. And over the past year, I've actually taken on like I edit like podcasts on the side for people now. I edit other stuff on the side, and like I've just learned a lot more about editing, which seems crazy because I've been editing Armand's work for a decade now. But like I'm still learning and everything. So that's my problem from a technical perspective. Is like I'm always getting better, so I'm always, you know, sometimes you look back on this stuff and you go, man, I wish I would have done it different. But with a project like Kairos, we could probably honestly still be working on it. Like, you have to get to a point where you just go, all right, we're shipping it, it's done. I can't even look at this any longer. The people need to hear this.
Yeah.
I don't know if that really answered what you wanted it to.
Nah, yeah, definitely. That's great, and we're gonna get into that a little bit more. I want to poke you a little bit more on that later.
Please.
Armond, I want to ask you now. You're so transparent in what you, and that's a cliche now, transparent, honest.
Ain't it though?
Like you're so transparent and honest with your material. I think sometimes it's surreal to us, so it almost seems like you're talking about something that you're not going through, really. So it's kind of your thing now. So I just wanted to ask, man, how are you a year later? Because previously to releasing Kairos, you know, you took a long break, and the Kairos nerds were very upset with you. The Armond nerds, I should say, at that point, were very upset with you because you didn't put out some of the projects we thought you were going to. But how are you now? Because you took that break for you personally. So how are you now?
If you want to know how I'm doing, listen to Dissertation to the... No. Hold on. Wait a minute.
You were good, Armond. Come on, man.
Hold on. No. Hold on. I'm going to tell you the songs, and then I'm going to tell you how I'm doing. The two songs to listen to know how I'm doing are Dissertation to the Dreamers and Scared of Me Too. Dissertation to the Dreamers is I have a much greater clarity. And I honestly didn't get that clarity until like 2 months ago. But Scared of Me Too was how I was feeling after Kairos up until 2 months ago. And then even some of that stuff I still struggle with, heavy. But you know, I'm in a great space. I feel like Malcolm when he got back from Mecca. Just like how he just saw everything different. Like he wasn't doing, you know, he saw just people. He saw life. The sky was a different color blue. The grass was a different color green. The sun was a different color yellow. And that's where I'm at. I'm just like, I just see all this creativity and just all this opportunity everywhere. And yeah, I'm extremely optimistic. But you know, I say all that to say I'm in a really, really, really good space. The problems haven't gone away. Nothing has changed, but everything has changed.
Yeah. Doc, is he a different Armond?
It's funny you say that because I was listening to Can I Live on Snooze Button 3, and like from a technical, it's funny. Like I'm approaching this like, you know, Mark can talk about, you know, sort of where he is in a personal space, but as an artist, I think he's in a better place. You know, Kairos was, I don't want to call it a debut album because it's not a debut album, but you know, I don't want to plug our show too much. But on the show, we talk a lot about this whole idea of, and people know this, like just in general hip hop, like a debut album from like artists often captures this huge period of time in their life, and they build up to it and build up to it and build up to it, and then the inevitable follow up is always like, oh, it's never the same because it's not, you know, like a good example, Nas and Nomadic, right? That was 18 years, 20 years of his life, right? And for Armond, on a smaller scale, Kairos was such a period of time of his life, right? That you know, it's reflective of that sort of time frame, and now he gets an opportunity to just sort of be Armond, right? Like Kairos itself was like a trial and tribulation just to put out, and the project, I won't say it sort of became about that, but that was really sort of reflective. Like it was such a varied project that like I think where he's at now, I think just musically speaking, he's in a better place. Like I'm really happy with what happened on Praise Break and Snooze Button 3. And I'm still happy with what we did on Kairos, but like, yeah, like to me, like listening to Can I Live, like the way he's dipping in and out of the flow of the beat, like technically speaking, yeah, he's in a better place.
I'm a better rapper, right?
Yeah.
Nah, seriously.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I think I'm a better MC now. Absolutely.
Yeah, the Kairos nerds here agree. They're all nodding. They're like, yes.
Yeah. That Kairos and Praise Break. That's what happens when you delete Twitter for a month. You don't tweet. Not just those are just rants.
I wanna get into something that you tweeted around the time you released Kairos. You probably don't even remember this, but I think it was around April of last year, and I'll never forget it because you were like, you were asking all your fans and supporters, so we don't really care about charting, right? Like on iTunes. You're like, well, we don't really care about charting on iTunes, right? And I remember just knee-jerk reacting like, well, of course you do, right? And I think Christian hip-hop, the genre that you're boxed in right now, and we're going to kind of talk about that as well later, but we're obsessed with like charting, and you know, I'm kind of being a hypocrite because I write a lot of those stories, right? Like I write a lot of the news stories, but we're obsessed with charting. Right. What do you know that we don't?
I mean, it just looks good. It just looks good. Like it's nice to have. I'm not like if my next album charts, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it charted. So what? I'm gonna screenshot it too. But I don't care if it doesn't. I think that's the difference. Like, does that make my project better because a bunch of people bought it on iTunes within a certain time frame? So that in turn makes it look like they have they're selling just as much as, secular artists, or as opposed to, they're just selling it at a certain rate, which puts them between the 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock hour. They've sold just as much as, whoever's charting right now, Iggy, Drake, whoever's number one right now. So I just don't care. Not like that.
Why do we care so much, like, in our genre? Like, it seems like we're really thirsty for that. Like, why do we care?
Can I jump in?
Yeah, I wanted Doc to jump in too as well.
Sorry, I don't want to say any individual is insecure, but as a sub-genre, subculture, whatever you want to call it, it reeks of insecurity. It's like, how will the world know that we're any good unless we have this one mechanism with which to judge, right? Because we don't have the 5 mics in the source anymore. We don't have anything authoritative, right? Yeah. And the first time that this happens where, people realize, oh, if I get a lot of fans in the iTunes during this one block of time, it shows up, and that's cool. And that was almost like, to me, that's like an interesting, like, oh, look, like, iTunes isn't as static as people realize. Like, there's other things out there than just the top artists. Like, the first couple times that might have meant something, but now it's just like, you see it all the time, where, like, not just Christian hip-hop, but, like, mainstream, secular, whatever, just every artist of all ilks are like, oh, my fans got me #1 on iTunes, and they show a little screenshot. Like, this is a common thing because, it's a instantly, update. It's not instantly, but it's a relatively quickly updated, like, snapshot that you can hang on to and say, at one point I was this, and then you get to sort of declare victory and move on, right? Like, you sort of get to do that. A similar phenomenon happens with books on the New York Times bestseller list, or really on Amazon.com as well. And, like, you can influence what ends up on the New York Times bestsellers list. You can have your publisher buy a ton of copies. That's actually kind of legal. They just mark it with, like, an asterisk to be like, we noticed unusual book buying patterns, but you still show up that way. It's the same concept. That's now the measuring stick.
Yeah, like
this guy around.
Yeah. Doc, so do you think, from your vantage point, because you're not in CHH like we are?
Nope.
Like, he's like, no.
I'm honest.
Yeah. And so, from your vantage point, is that why Armond isn't recognized in the way that his talent kind of warrants him to be recognized? And Armond, we're going to get into the Cash Hollister tweet in a second. But do you think?
I forgot what he said.
Do you think that the insecurity that exists within our genre is preventing is kind of boxing Armond out because he's not insecure in the same way that most of our artists are?
No, I don't think that's what's going on at all.
Good. Okay. Armond, what song from Kairos? And I'm just asking you rapid fire questions, so steer me if you want to go anywhere.
Rock out.
What song from Kairos is more relevant to you now than it was when you made it?
Do we lose Armond real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, he might have froze up. He'll come back.
Doc, you want to take that?
Yeah. What song means more to me now? I mean, I'm unfortunately for Armond, I'm biased towards, like, the songs that I produced, so. But, you know what? When the album came out, my opinion changed as to which of my songs I like the most, like, on a daily basis. I'll be like, oh, this day I like this one, this day I like this one. A year removed, and this is Kairos. Like, that song to me means the most. And I've told this story before. I've told the story before, but I'll tell it again. I did it over Twitter a couple days ago, where, like, so there was a previous version of that song with a different beat, and I thought it was cool, but I wanted to take a shot at it. So we had, during the making of Kairos, we had found out that my wife's grandma was about to pass away, and we were all really close. And she hadn't passed away yet, but it was she was in her 90s. It was at the point where they were like, okay, we know it's not a matter of if, just when, right? And it was a really emotional night, and want to give her some space. And typically when, like, that's how I respond to emotional things, is music, right? So I was upstairs, up in my office upstairs, and going through samples, and I went back to that sample, and I started chopping it in a way that just like spoke to me. And now, like, when I hear that instrumental or when I hear the song, like, no joke, I start, like, I get a little teary. Like, I'm just immediately brought back to that moment. Like, and at the end where it's like I bring the main sample back in, and then all of a sudden, like, it's just the beat that, like, then plays out in my mind. I'm like Puff Daddy from the I've Been Missing You video, like, dancing my sadness with. Like, seriously, like, that's how I feel. I'm gonna start doing that dance. Like, that's what that record means to me. So like that's a record that means more to me now, because it's like immediate. Like, I just remember immediately when I made that.
Yeah. Armond, you back with us?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Man, Doc, that's really man, that's really interesting to hear you say that, and just the way you put that, that Armand's music was actually speaking to you, and that the process actually spoke to you in that time. Armand, what song is more relevant to you now than when you made it?
Genesis Revelation.
Can you expand?
Because when I got Kairos, one of the many reasons why Kairos took so long to come out was because I thought I had to understand Kairos before I could, like, put it out there, and I thought I had to master it. And
you even told me that, like about 2 months ago, you said, I don't understand Kairos. You said, I realize I don't understand Kairos. I thought I did, but I really don't.
Yeah, I really don't. It's way deeper than the 6 steps and the things that I talked about. As far as, like, application, it just, like, and then I say it must be revealed before we can revolt. Like, revelation is progressive. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think about a television show. If I watch season 3 of The Wire, I'm about to spoil it just in case anybody's ever seen it or hasn't seen it, but you should have. Okay, so I won't spoil it. So if somebody major dies at the end of season 3, right, and that's your first episode seeing that person die, you're like, it doesn't affect you. But if you go back to season 1, episode 1, and you see everything that led up to this person's death, it's like, oh, that's what it is. So, for Kairos, like, when I said it must be revealed before we can revolt, it's still being revealed. Therefore, on the flip side, the revolting isn't quite at 100% just yet, because I'm still seeing and trying to figure it out. I'm trying to get past myself right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, all my expectations that I talked about earlier, now that those are on the ground, it's like, all right, now what? Where do we go from here? So definitely Genesis Revelation. Just, it was the first song. It set it off, and it's still setting things off every time I hear it. Absolutely.
And we talked in that conversation about how Kairos is kind of now like the framework. It's kind of like the foundation for what you do moving forward. Now you're building on top of Kairos. So kind of looking ahead, and we'll come back to the actual album, but kind of looking ahead to what you've put out in the past few weeks, how has Praise Break and Snooze Button 3 built on the foundation of Kairos that you laid a year ago?
I'm in a different place. So it's funny, actually, somebody hit me up on Twitter and said, actually 2 people hit me up and said this. One of them said they listened to Boomerang and then they listened to Lord Knows 2 and they connected. That wasn't intentional. And then somebody else said listen to Marathon and then listen to Even If I Lose. I didn't expect that to connect, but what people have told me is that from Dreaming Out Loud to now, that my discography is like a walking, it's an audible walk with God. So it's not intentional, like, all right, now I got to figure out what I did from Kairos. It was just like, I just want to put out a project. You know, Doc and I were clamoring for that Alchemist beat tape for months.
Okay.
I got it. I sent it to Doc, and Doc was like, you should rap over some of these. And we literally built the concept of Praise Break in like 15 minutes over text. Snooze Button 3 was just something that I wanted to do forever. I was like, you know what? I just want to take some beats and rap just because I want to fall back in love with rapping again, because from Kairos to now, I hadn't written anything other than, you know, a few songs here and there. He's Against Me, Own It, It Ain't Hard to Tell. I wasn't really writing like that. And in turn, music just wasn't fun. And I think that your ministry should still, you should still have a passion for it. You should still have a desire for it. I still love hip hop. I still love making music. I just didn't love it at that time. So Snooze Button 3 was for me. And it just so happens that, of course, me and my selfish ways, you know, it just turned into something for everybody else, which is dope.
Yeah. Let's get into this Cash Hollister tweet, man, because you referenced it. So I have it here.
Yeah, what tweet is this? What are we talking about?
So Cash Hollister, shout out to Cash Hollister, man.
Yeah, whatever.
he's like, yeah. He said, Monday morning tweet, Armond Wake Up is putting together an audio winning streak, and the fact most people aren't paying attention is hilarious, in all caps.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
And you said you were going to address that tonight, Armond, and I know you hate being called underrated. Like, you really dislike that. But I think Cash kind of echoes a sentiment that a lot of Kairos fans and your fans have, that what you're doing is being taken for granted, and that it could be taken for granted by people who are almost right around the corner from your music but don't know it. So you want to speak to his tweet and what your thoughts are?
Who says people aren't paying attention?
Perception.
Yeah. Who says they're not? What numbers? I can get 1,000 people in a venue. I've performed in venues where there's a mass amount of people and nobody's paying attention to me. Everybody's on their phone. Everybody's, you know, I'm at a bar, so they're drinking, they're trying to talk to girls, they're doing all that stuff. They're not worried about me. I did a show at a middle school for Valentine's Day. Them kids ain't care about me. The Dreamer came on. Them kids was like, they left, but it was like the gym was packed. So I could easily tweet and say, yo, just delivered Kairos for 500 middle school students. But if nobody got it, it's just a number. However, I know that every person, you know, my text messages tell a different story. My emails tell a different story. When I go out in these streets in Columbus, that tells a different story. It's literally like the scene in Paid in Full. I was telling my man this the other day. Like, when I go out now, it's like Paid in Full when Ace and Mitch went out and Mitch was getting all the love. It took him 30 minutes just to sit down because he was dapping everybody up in the club. Like, that's, people know. People know. It might not be the masses, but they know. They absolutely know. And why the voices aren't louder, why the text messages and DMs and emails saying that I'm this, I'm that, your music is this, your music is that, why doesn't that echo in the public square? You're asking the wrong person. I have no idea. You know.
I think these two most recent projects help you though, Armond. Like, we haven't even talked about this, so.
No, we haven't.
I think that Praise Break and really Snooze Button 3, they come across more as you are more effortless, and it is a good alternative. I don't say alternative. It is a good change of pace from somebody who, if they're introduced to you, they're hearing Kairos. Because Kairos, we talked about, it's long, which we talked about. It's heavy, and you want someone to walk away getting the message. But someone can also listen to Snooze Button 3 and just be like, "Oh, that dude can rap." That's important. You need both, right? Yeah. So having that in like where you're at now musically, having up-to-date examples of like the different sides helps you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would agree. Like listening to, in particular, Snooze Button 3. It's almost like, and I've been listening a ton to Kairos, obviously, to prepare for this, but listening to Snooze Button 3 is such a change of pace, like Doc was saying, that it's refreshing for someone who's heard you for a while. You know, since my first project from you was Dreaming Out Loud. So it's refreshing to hear that change of pace and that difference, also the growth as well. Now in Snooze Button 3, you're very forward, like you're very direct. One of the lines that I wanted to talk about was,
"Oh, you got paper, son? You got paper." I heard that Joe Ruffle like, "Yo, that's why you my man. You come prepared, son."
Oh no, I wanted to ask you about this line, man. It says, "That's when God slapped me and said what's gotten into you, trying to fit in a genre of music that you don't listen to." And I'm just gonna let you talk.
I don't listen to Christian hip hop. I don't. I listen to my friends who do Christian hip hop. So I listen to Yavis, I listen to Cam, I listen to Taylor Gray, I listen to Dre Murray, I listen to Jonathan Baker, because those are my friends. I listen to Priest, because those are my friends. So more important than Priest putting out a new album is that he came over my house and we sat on the couch and we chopped it up for 2 hours before he did his verse on 72 and 10. We just talked about life and, you know, how his wife and his kids are doing, and we talked about wrestling, and, you know, I can talk to Jonathan for like 2 hours. You know, I said it earlier on Twitter, Jonathan Baker and Taylor Gray are going to have 2 of the best projects of the year. And I don't say that just because I'm their friend, but it helps, but they're both incredibly talented. But I'm not clamoring on Rapzilla like, yo, I need to listen to the new blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm listening to right now? Tears for Fears, Wham. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in my 80s bag right now. Like, I'm not really listening to hip hop. But, you know, I don't listen to it. So why am I trying to fit in somewhere that deep down I kind of don't want to belong? You know what I'm saying? Keep it real. When I was at Flavor Fest, I've never felt more uncomfortable. Anybody will tell you I was there. I met Spaz. I met a lot of dudes from Straight Terrible. I met Social Club. I met Daraj. I met mad people. But I was very much, people didn't know it was me until like the night the show was over. They're like, "Oh, you're Armond?" Because I just didn't feel comfortable. I was more concerned with my son is there. You know, I got to kick it with him.
You weren't wearing the Kairos t-shirt?
Yeah. It was a giant egg.
I was gonna say
6'5".
The 6'5" guy wearing the Kairos t-shirt. I figured, you know, that's
put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, right. But I mean, you know, that didn't really happen. But it's just not really me. Like, I just don't listen to it. You know what I'm saying? And that's no diss. Yeah. Just don't listen to it. So why? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just go where I belong, or not where I belong. Let's just go where I fit. And if I don't fit anywhere, I think that the lane that I'm in, I think we can dig the foundation and, you know, carve it out and pave the road ourselves.
Doc, you, from your vantage point outside of CHH again, because that's, I think, valuable to the people listening who are big fans of CHH, big fans, and immersed in it.
Right.
From your vantage point, looking at Armond's career and people's reaction to it, do you agree in the sense that he shouldn't be classified as CHH? And I'm careful on how I ask that because this is a recurring debate within our subgenre. Do we classify ourselves as that, or, you know? Whatever.
I don't think anybody should be classified as CHH. I don't understand this. I don't understand what it is that makes it different, because there's no other part of hip hop that classifies itself to such distinctions. Even, you know, at best we get regional distinctions, right? That's a holdover from how hip hop was in the 80s and 90s. And there's still regional differences, but there's so much cross-pollination now that almost, it matters, but it doesn't matter like it used to. And you get all that stuff. I don't understand why CHH is a subgenre in and of itself. I mean, it might, and sure, again, I'm probably ignorant of the history, and it might be at one point that was it was just called, like, CHH artists might have just been shoved into that box. But as it stands in 2014, I don't know if it's helping anybody.
That's why I suggest that anybody go listen to the Clock Radio Speakers episode that we did on hip hop and religion. I think
crazy about it. That episode was crazy.
Yeah, that was an amazing episode. I think we really got to, and I want to do another one because I want to get opinions from some guys who like really know the history of Christian hip hop, because I don't. But you know, just the history of the church, just kind of rejecting hip hop for so long. Just now that door is slowly starting to open here in 2014. That, you know, it's accepted as an honorable or accepted form of, you know, worship and ministry. But you know, I think that has a lot to do with it. I think the church, you know, one of the religious sect has just been very us against them. That big bad world. That, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that goes into a totally different conversation. You're gonna make me go off. I'm chilling.
Now, Doc, producing and mixing for Kairos, though, Kairos is a very spiritual album.
Yes.
It's a very Christian album. Like, but you guys have also very strongly critiqued other Christian hip hop albums, even by some of our favorites.
Right. I'm probably not. There are places in America I'm not welcome, I'm sure. I'm totally okay.
Get them.
Conferences. But yeah, so what was different mixing Armond than listening to Lecrae?
Right. Lecrae's interesting, right? Because I was very harsh, right? On the first Lecrae project that we talked about on Clock Radio Speakers.
Harsh because it was bad.
Here's what I would say. I would say that my real opinion about, so this sort of goes back to the whole conversation of should it be classified as like Christian hip hop, should Armond be classified that way? I think it seems that the objective is that fans and artists in the Christian hip hop subgenre, they don't want to be stuck in the musical ghetto anymore. They want it to be okay for mainstream artists to listen. They want to have that same access. That's why people talk about iTunes numbers, right? It's not just, hey, we're popular. It's, hey, we're not just something that nobody knows about anymore, right? And anytime you do something different musically, whether it's the sound or the content, it's just my opinion that the way forward isn't by saying, all right, here's what I hear on the radio right now. I know that if I make music that sounds like that, or sounds, we'll call it contemporary, then there's a path that way, right? There's a ton of non-Christian hip hop artists who do the same thing, right? I'm almost holding Christian hip hop to a higher standard, which might be, maybe that's the wrong way to do it, but it's like, look, if you really want to elevate it, then you can't just be the same, just safer. You got an Armond, typically, like, there's a ton of like, even just the records I produce, like, two of them kind of sound a little, but they don't really sound that, they don't even sound the same. Armond is his own artist. He is not necessarily chasing what's popular. He's just trying to do stuff that he likes, and he's putting music down. And I respect that. And and I'm part of his sound. Like, it's not like he comes to me and he says, Doc, listen, I'm hearing a lot of, Mustard on the Beat drops, and, I really need to get turned, and I really need some Doc drums with that. Like, that's not how this works. Like, we do us.
Yeah.
Armond, taking it back to Kairos, because we could get muddled down here forever, but taking it back to Kairos, you talk a lot about love in that and in all your music. Now, how has your perception of love, or what love is, changed since Kairos?
You'll hear that on my next project.
And I was actually kind of hinting, I was like, man, he's got to have some sort of project coming out.
I think that I didn't talk about love a whole lot on Kairos. I don't think I did. Love is wasn't me like saying this is what love is. I'm asking y'all, like, somebody tell me what love is.
You're still talking about love, and then obviously walking contradictions.
I mean, okay, so if you want to talk about like relationship, like yo, Doc, get off the chat, son. Like,
Woo! Oh man.
um, God, how has my perception of love changed? Did we lose Tyler?
No, he's here.
I'm here.
Okay. I guess can you narrow it down? Like, are you talking about like in the realm of relationships? Are you talking about like what do you mean love? You know,
Yes,
love
yes.
is such a yes. Okay, relationships. I think I'm at a place now where I can talk about it. I think that's the place. The place is, you know, I was intentional by not talking about, because I had a couple of relationships. Some of the records that I was gonna put on Residue totally could have went on Kairos, and I thought about it. But I didn't want to put that out because I didn't want to have it. I wasn't ready to have any of those conversations with people. You know, any song on Kairos, you can come to me and ask me, so what'd you think about this? And when you said this, what does this mean? And I can, with a clear mind, I can talk to you about it. But some of those records on Residue, I couldn't do that because while I was putting out Kairos, while I was working on Kairos, and then, you know, the year since, just dealing with crazy relationship stuff. You know, but now I'm at a place where, you know, I can have those conversations. So at least there's a start. And it kind of, to be honest with you, the project I'm working on now is like, that's where a lot of those questions, or that's what a lot of those tracks sound like right now. I'm glad I'm not doing records in 24 hours. And I'm, you know, taking 6 months to work on one project because, you know, this one's a little more tricky.
Okay. I was gonna probe a little bit more, but I'll let that lie for a second. I'll let that lie.
See, I thought I was gonna be ready for some of these questions, yo. You killing me.
If you had to describe Praise Break in one sentence, how would you describe it?
Somebody say very good. Is that what somebody said?
It's like a paragraph. Somebody over here is like, man, give him a paragraph.
I would describe it with a question. Is the church ready to hear it? Pose a lot of questions to the church. I call myself Aleister Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
I call us the devil. What if I told you the devil they refer to in the scripture sits in the mirror?
Mm-hmm.
What if I walked into church right now and been like, yo, I am John the Baptist and Aleister Crowley. I am a great man of faith, and I am what a lot of Christians call one of the most evilest men of our day. But it's true. It's who we are. Walking contradiction. That's all it is. It's just an uglier way of saying it. Are we ready to face those ugly questions? You know? I think it was a heavy and direct project.
Doc, would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, the beats on that purposely slow him down. They are slower beats for Armond to rap over, and in a sense that assists and makes the project feel more thoughtful. Not that his stuff's not thoughtful, but like the tempo gives it an entirely different feel. Like if you're like something like, you know, even if I lose, like if that is 20 BPMs faster, it feels different, right? But like the slower nature of the beats, it becomes a place where you can ask questions like that, I feel.
Yeah. Now, Armond, can you do the same thing for Snooze Button 3? Give us a sentence.
God is a really good rapper. That's how you describe Snooze Button 3. God's a really good rapper. I'm not that good. Snooze Button 3 was just me, you know, putting some WD-40 on the bike and, you know, shaking the rust off. And, you know, so the compliments that I get that say, yo, Armond, you went in, I'm like, cool, because that's what I wanted. Since Kairos was so thematic, I just wanted to get in the booth and be like, let me get some beats and let me just tear some heads off real quick, because I want to do that. Everything has to mean something. Like, nah, I just want to rap.
Yeah.
That's it.
Speaking of that, but you did speak on some stuff that people have asked you and you said they wonder how I glory in something that isn't Jesus. And you're speaking of Clock Radio speakers.
Yeah.
The relationship with you and Doc.
Well, not even the relationship with Doc and I, just the fact that we talk about big, bad, evil, secular music every week. Was that the question that you were going towards? Because I cut you off.
Absolutely. Nah, that's it.
How can we affect something that we refuse to engage? How can I say that I want to reach the kids, but I won't walk into a school? How can I say, no, I want to eat something and don't go into a restaurant? I got to be there, you know? And I like hip-hop. I love it. A lot of this, and I'll talk about on the show, I like this record, but I don't like the fact that he was talking about this. That didn't really sit well with me. Some songs I won't like because of the subject nature. I'm not a little kid. Like, there's some things that I can't listen to, but there's a lot that I understand. Like, look, that's them. I used to be that way. I still struggle with those ways. So how can I sit there and say that's evil, that's ugly, that's nasty, that's filthy when I'm in it myself? Like that, to me that's corny. So, and it's been an incredible tool for ministry, an incredible tool. How else could I talk about? How else could we have an episode about religion and hip hop with, you know, an ex-5%er who's my DJ and then a guy who's raised Muslim and turned Christian? How are we gonna talk about religion and hip hop with a bunch of other Christians? It doesn't make sense.
I heard Kendrick say once, a few years back, that he was just trying to make human music, just human music. Why don't more rappers, either on either side, whether it's Christian or mainstream, make more human music? And Doc, you can hop in on this one as well.
Because they think that they don't think people want to hear human music. They think they need to, you know, you got to paint in really like broad strokes. You've got to roll. You got to play it. This worked 5 years ago. This is what I'm going to do now. I saw this guy wearing this. I got to wear like it. There are still limits to where people are either think that they can go in hip hop, or really what I think fans are even, you know, what they want to get out of hip hop. Like, you know, people, you know, we don't like to talk about it on the show, but there's a lot of people who listen to hip hop because it's ignorant. That appeals to them. People know that, so they're going to do that. It's not that. I mean, it's as simple as that sometimes, you know.
Yeah, that's scary. You know, that was one of the things that I had when I wrote my Lecrae interview, and I've said it, is that, you know, artists are fake transparent. One of my favorite writers of this time is Joe Budden, but Joe Budden is fake transparent, where the transparency is shrouded in manipulation, and it allows him to be the victim and for him to kind of control everybody's responses. You know, I'm the bad guy, but I'm this way because when I was 5 this happened, or, you know, she did this to me, so in turn it's turned my heart into stone. And I mean, that's a level of human music, you know, humanistic music. But what if you just foul? What if you're the one who did the dirt? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just needed an ear and you gave me your body. Like, she gave me her body, but I had to take it. I could have said no. You know what I'm saying? So nobody's willing to paint themselves. I don't say nobody, but it's very difficult to paint yourself as the bad guy, the perpetrator. That's difficult to do, to put yourself out there on Front Street.
That's about the 5th time you guys have mentioned Walking Contradiction. So is that like the signature song from Kairos?
The oldest song, or is Dreamer older?
That's the oldest song. Because when we did that, we were working on our project. We did that. I remember we did that on a Saturday. We did that around 3-Day Weekend.
Right, because that was done right around the same time as Q&A.
Yep. Because Walking Contradiction was gonna be on Condiments because
Right.
Q&A was the first single from our project.
Right.
I was like, let's hold it. And then when we decided that we were gonna work on Kairos and not our project, I was like, I'm gonna put this on the album. Yeah,
Right.
Walking Contradiction's dumb old. I wrote that in the summer of 2011, I think. 12?
11 to 12. Yeah.
No, it was 11. No, it was 11 because 12 I wasn't making music. It was summer 2011 because Condiments came out in September 2011.
Did it really?
Yeah.
I'm completely lost. Wow.
Yeah.
That's old.
That record is almost 3 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Armond, I did want to ask you a question about Makes No Sense. And you talk a lot about grace. I remember around the time that you released Kairos, or a little bit after, you were reading a book called One Way Love, I believe it was. And,
yes, Television Vision. Love that guy. Need to meet him. He's amazing. Yes.
And the book subtitle is Inexhaustible Grace for an Exhausted World.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about grace? I know when we had you on the show previously, you really went in on grace. And I just want to hear you talk about just what you've learned in that, even the contours of that from now, a year later, from Kairos.
Yeah, you just can't exhaust grace. Grace is empowering. Grace doesn't just cover your mistakes. It allows you to do anything. The Bible says, apart from me, you can't do anything. And you need God's grace to do everything. God's grace is the reason why you breathe. God's grace is the reason why before I even knew who Jesus was, when I got shot at, no bullet hit me and somebody next to me got hit and I didn't. Grace is, God, I could talk about it forever. It's like grace is downhill. That's something I heard the other day. Tullian talked about, we try to achieve stuff, so we try to feel good about ourselves. So we're like, all right, if I feel good, I'm gonna reach this mountain. You climb up to that mountain, you get up there, you're like, oh, this is cool. And then immediately, after a while, it goes away. Like, all right, now what can I do? Let me climb the next mountain. And you tire yourself out just trying to hit all these plateaus, when if God has called you to do something, He gives you the grace to do it, which means, you're not going to be exhausted. You're going to have the resources. You're going to, everything's going to come in His time. Grace is the cornerstone of everything that we do in life, not just in ministry, but just in life. Grace is just, that's it. We have the cheat code. Grace is the game genie. You know what I'm saying? That grace gives us the infinite lives and the unlimited bullets. You know what I'm saying? And it's dope and it's amazing and it renews every morning, and there's nothing that we can do to exhaust it. We can't outrun it. That's another thing that I realized this year, is that I can't outrun God. I disqualify myself, hop in the ring and hit Jesus with a chair and run because I was scared. Every time He would turn around, tell the ref to ring the bell and whisper that He's prepared me and not to leave until my opponent is pinned. So I'm going to hold to this pen. It gives me hope that I win. Really, that's all I need, because the resolve to believe is the greatest thing to achieve. Just the fact that I want to believe in grace, that's all God needs. You want to do it, I'll help you do the rest. And even in the want, I'll help you want it.
Yeah, it is no surprise to me that the thing that scares the church the most, grace, is something that you talk about the most. Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome, man. And I think that, and really, I didn't say this at the outset, man, because I didn't want to be too cliche, but a year later, for those of us who have enjoyed and love Kairos, man, I don't want to be cliche, but thank you for allowing us to come into your world. And thank you for just opening yourself up to us and making human music that you don't sugarcoat, but that you really show us your walk in an honest, transparent way. And I didn't want to be cliche at the beginning and be like, oh, Armond, thank you. But, honestly, it does impact us. And that's one of the things in particular Makes No Sense, which is probably my favorite song on Kairos. So thank you for talking about that.
Word, no doubt.
And we're about to actually transition out on our end and let you guys take some other questions. But I did want to ask about the concert that's coming up, just the things that you've announced so far in Kairos Week and what's coming up as well. Can you give us a little insight into the concert and what it's going to look like, things like that?
Yeah, June 21st, it will be myself, it will be Taylor Gray, and it will be Renee Dion and John Rogers. Renee is an incredible singer here in Ohio, and her and John put out a project this year called Moonlight that is just. And I probably should. I did a remix to one of her songs, and I was going to hold on to it, but maybe for the concert I might put it out. Now that I think about it, it kind of makes sense to kind of introduce my audience to her. And it's June 21st. It's at Girl and Guy Republic, 32 West 5th Avenue. Doors open at 7. We're doing Kairos with a live band, so shout out to Jonathan Baker. And then DJ O'Sharp will be there as well. So it's a real small, intimate venue, so, you know, make sure you're there early because we are going to sell out. We are going to fill up. And then for those who are not in Columbus, we have it available to watch at concertwindow.com. If you go to armandwakeup.com, you can actually click and, you know, purchase a ticket. Tickets are whatever, name your price, however much you want to pay, and you'll be able to watch the show live there. So, you know, we want to take care of everybody. So
dope. I was actually, you know, real talk, I was actually considering coming up for that. Yeah, I might actually do that. But we'll talk offline. But yeah,
Okay.
keep going.
Cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then, you know, the rest of Kairos week, we'll be selling these shirts. Boom. Shirts. They'll be on sale either tonight or tomorrow. Working out a few little kinks. And then tomorrow will be some writers will be revisiting the album. You know, it'll be now I'm drawing a blank. I think it's four writers are revisiting the project from different perspectives. And then Friday will be a giveaway. We Live as Kings is coming to Columbus. And your man Yavis, being the cheapskate that he is, gave me one ticket. I'm going to give away one. I'm probably going to pay for a second one, or either ask him for a second one and try to get 2 tickets, because who wants to show up at a show by themselves? And we'll hold some sort of contest on Instagram. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to give that ticket away. And that'll be Kairos week.
Dope.
We might have a couple more surprises.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I'm not saying they, just, you know, we might have a couple more surprises.
Y'all always scheming, man. Always scheming. But I appreciate you guys letting us sit in, man. Here, we love you down here at Pensacola, man. Love your music. Appreciate what you guys do. And yeah, we're gonna hop off and let you guys kind of nerd out a little bit more on Twitter, but on the Twitter questions and the things that you guys are getting from the fans. But yeah, thank you guys for allowing us to just kind of sit in and peek our heads in and be a part of this. Poke you guys a little bit.
Cool. Thanks, Tyler. We will be doing this again.
Absolutely. Sure. Thanks, Doc. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
All right. So we are going to take a couple questions that were on the chat. So if you want to...
I'm like sitting back, relaxing.
I'm saying kind of kick back a little bit. We're going to clock in your speakers and nerd it out for a second. So if you've got questions, we're gonna be on for a little bit. We won't be on all night, but we'll be on for a little bit. Use the hashtag #ThisIsKairos, or just add us on Twitter. You guys are doing both. So at ArmondWakeUp or at Doc_Beats, S not a Z. And we're gonna get into some questions. Let's go. I saw the first one. Hold on, there was one from you. First question was asked the other day. What inspired the beat selection on Snooze Button 3? Those were all beats that I just wanted to rap to.
Right. And I convinced Armand to rap on Can I Live.
You did.
I was bugging you about that.
You were bugging me about Can I Live. And that record came, we wrapped up, Doc was done with Snooze Button 3. Doc did, you know, we talk about like the obsessing or whatever. Doc did not obsess. At least he didn't express to me that he obsessed. I think I probably obsessed more than he did with these mixes.
You know what? We were just in a better place. Like, we learned our lessons. You know, we know what to do now, for the most part. Yeah. And the other part is because it's not like, see, the problem with Kairos was that, that's just the problem, but like the temptation with Kairos is that for a lot of the records, we still had access to the original like multi-track for each instrumental. So like, especially my beats, right? I can just sit there when I'm doing the mix, be like, oh, what if I go back in and on Dreamer, let me lower this and let me raise this. Like, all we've got is the regular just instrumental from that record. There's only so much you can do with it. So it's, Armand's got a better mic now. We put it over the instrumental. Some stuff I play around with a little bit, a little effect here or there, nothing serious, and just make it sound real good and clean. So in a way, having less options helped.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I realize having too many options is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to have a linear focus. Like, all right, this is the beat. The worst we can do is filter and drop. And Doc filtered and dropped a couple records. I love the filter that you did on Conversations with My Cousin. Like, that came out of nowhere. That was beautiful.
Oh, right.
Yeah, right after the Kanye line. That was beautiful. I love what you did with Can I Live, like kind of bringing it in.
Right, 'cause it teases people because it makes it feel like it's an outro.
Yeah, because somebody hit us up on Twitter like, I'm glad you didn't just talk, because I talked for a long time, so it felt like I was doing the Lupe Fiasco 12-minute food and liquor outro. I was gonna shout my third grade teacher. It was the, but yeah, it definitely worked. Next question.
The one from Kellis about an hour ago, or you got another one?
Yeah, I got the one from Kellis. I'm gonna go from oldest to newest.
All right.
How much did the content affect each of you as the album grew into an egg? Oh, that's a good question. Doc and I, because keep it real, Doc really wasn't a part of the process of Kairos till the album was probably about halfway done.
Right.
So when I got to Doc, I think all but maybe 2 or 3 of the songs were at least like hashed out conceptually. They may not have been written or whatever, but I don't like doing the whole, let's do 50 songs and pick out the best 15. Like, I want to have between 12 and 15 songs. I know I want to hit this point. I know I want to hit this point. I know I want to hit this point. And make sure I do that. And I didn't want to go overboard. Go ahead, Doc. You gonna say something?
No. It's interesting. Revisiting the album now, it's hard to. I try to separate the music from like the experience of creating it, right? Like it's hard. I'll admit it's hard for me to sit there and listen to a record and not think only of, man, I had to do like 15 different mix, or we struggled to get this right. Like it's hard to appreciate it from just like listen to it as it is.
Yeah.
And I tweeted this the other day, like no joke, like the Dreamer remix, like we had that I did that as a joke, like when that Justin Timberlake single leaked, I did it off the leaked MP3.
Yeah.
As a joke, just to be like, I think I could make that work. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool, whatever. And I never really finished it. So like when I went back, I opened up like the original mix files for the Dreamer, and I was like, oh, and I immediately remember like, oh yeah, this doesn't really work. Like, oh, we had technical issues. Oh, and it's like post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, I was just like, oh my god, I just can't. So like when I did when I put the remix out, like I actually really just greatly simplified. I took away a lot of layers from the mix. I was like, no, I'm really doing this like a remix. I'm pretending I don't have access to all this stuff. I just couldn't even delve into, like, I actually just did a mix from scratch. I didn't even use the original. I was like, nope, I'm just taking Armand's raw of this, and I'm putting it here, and that's it.
It made me want to write new verses and keep the hook. Oh, God. Like, just, like, from a technical aspect, like, I'm going to tell you this. I don't hate the Dreamer. I don't like it as much as I did because I feel like I could have attacked the beat totally different.
No, my problem is, like, when you hear... I don't want to do it because I'm going to drive myself crazy, but I really want to, like, remix, like, a bunch of... Not, like, remix, like, different beats, but, like, you can't even hear the kick drum on the Dreamer because I've got it so compressed because I was, we were in the last like days of trying to get this out, and I was like, this needs to sound this way, and I got all, we talked about it earlier in the Q&A, but like we were deep in the trenches, but like, I hear it now, and it's like, oh my goodness, the time gives you such clarity.
Absolutely. So yeah. But the content definitely, we had it from jump. There's a few records. There's one record I did called Trying to Get that never got finished that I really wish I could put out because that's still one of my favorite verses ever. Anyway, where are we at? This is the No Limit conversation I was having earlier. Okay, my man Justin said, I agree that you're a better MC. What factors do you think have contributed to that? Getting older. It's getting older. Performing, spoken word. I go to events. I go to open mics and do spoken word a lot. And when you don't have a beat and it's just you have to turn your voice into an instrument. Like you have to do vocal inflections and emphasis and body language and all that stuff. So that's an amazing teacher. I always tell anybody who asks me for advice, I just like, yo, go to an open mic, but don't go to a hip hop open mic. Go to like one of those neo soul cafe open mics, or go to a slam where like the poets there are just like phenomenal. Like they'll make you feel this big because they're so incredible. But just life, just life and time. And I heard Fonte say it a few months ago, and I think it's totally true. It's like the older you get, you hit this pocket once you reach your late 20s and early 30s. As an artist, I'll keep it to artistry because in terms of life, I'm still trying to figure that out. But you hit your pocket as an artist, and then by that time you're just kind of disenfranchised with the idea of being a rapper. Like I don't really want to. Like, yeah, we're going on a 50 city, state, national tour. That'd be great. I'm not going to turn that down, but like that's not a goal.
Right.
So yeah, just time and last thing, not caring about what other people have to say, or not caring about people's responses, and not caring about if people are going to be offended or if people are going to like it, if they're going to get it. I'm just going to write it. Like Doc said, I make it for me. So,
right.
What's that? Another question. So are we getting it? Everybody wants to rule the world sample on your next project. Nope. Nas ruined that for everybody.
See, it's funny because as you were talking about listening to Tears for Fears, I was making mental notes. I'm sitting there thinking to myself,
No, son.
Nope. Good luck with that record.
Go through my Spotify.
Yeah.
And go through my 80s playlist.
Right.
If you can sample Head Over Heels, just the intro to dun 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 dun. Like, yo, if you kill that, we'll do something. We do something, son.
Once I teach myself how to really do chop and screw, I'm just gonna slow everything down.
See, Kellis got you messed up.
I don't have time for it right now, but
What is it? Justin also said when we were talking about religion and hip hop, he said the church is historically slow to adopt new types of music. Raven Hill called electric guitars fallen harps. Interesting. Next question. What are your favorite songs from Snooze Button 3 and Praise Break, and why? I want to pose that question to you first. What are your favorite songs from Snooze Button 3 and Praise Break?
From Praise Break, it's Even If I Lose. A sample.
A single tear fell down my eye the first time I heard that.
I immediately sat there and like the whole time I was mixing that record, I kept coming back and I was like, do I want to try to throw drums on this? Do I want to chase down this sample and try to recreate it? I thought about that about 20 times.
Man.
Like, the beat alone hooked me, but then, obviously, what you do with it is dope. But, like, I love that beat. Love it.
Yeah. Should I give away the secret or nah?
What's the secret?
Shooting a video for that tomorrow. So, since we didn't get Pour Effort out to you guys, I have taken the rest of the week off from work, and we will begin a video for Even If I Lose. And that'll be available very, very soon. The turnaround time will be very quick. Another funny story. I watched my man Smurf sent me the footage of the Genesis Revelation video.
And
So glad that didn't come out.
why?
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, I need to see it.
Oh, it's terrible. Oh, it's so bad.
What's bad? Are you doing a lot of rapperisms?
Like the song, the concept could have worked.
Uh-huh.
Like it's where like I'm in my house and like I'm Genesis and I'm Revelation and I'm like
That seems complicated.
I'm like crossing paths with each other, but like I don't know that the other person is there, and
That sounds complicated.
it was really interesting. I just got a twist out, so like my hair was like this. I'm like, yo, why did y'all let me like do that with my hair for so long? Jesus. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It was bad.
Some stuff just stays in the vault.
Yes, that will not be coming out ever in life. What about Snooze Button 3? What's your favorite record on Snooze Button 3?
I really think it's kind of lit. You talked about like doing open mics, and like really the way you're like ducking and diving out of the flow of that beat. Now we're getting to a good space.
Yeah.
Like that. Now we're getting to a good, like, you know, one of the reasons why I always loved Walking Contradictions, especially that second verse, is the emotion in your voice, right? How you can, it's not just when you're speaking, it's not just at this like, it's not at a consistent level, or even like there's, people can feel you like on that track, right? And then it's that emotion, right? It's like, it's on some like Ghostface, you know.
What, Impossible?
Maybe not quite that level, but you know.
Yo, this man got shot, like you felt it, like yo.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny, I feel like, yeah, I think in terms of emotion, like I think Scared of Me Too did that well. Like
Right.
I built that up. I think
Yes.
I built that up really well. Like sometimes now when I get in the booth, it really feels like a spiritual experience. Like I'll just go in. So when I start revving up, listen, John, you don't listen to. Like I'm really upset, and then I hear myself. I hear a voice in the back of my head saying, "All right, Armond, calm down." Then I calm down and say, now, "Some would say that's sacrilegious." You know what I'm saying? So it's dope. As for me, favorite record off Praise Break, yes, Even If I Lose, without question. The sample's amazing. I think Judgment Day is a snoozer. I think that's the sleeper of the album. But yeah, Even If I Lose. Snooze Button 3. Can I Live? It changes. So right now it's Can I Live, Scared of Me Too. Yeah, Can I Live, Scared of Me Too. Up until Can I Live, Dissertation to the Dreamers was my favorite verse ever. And now Can I Live is just like, I wrote that at red lights on the way home from work when I recorded it that day, that Thursday. I went and got a calzone. I was angry. Somebody said something smart to me on Twitter. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put my phone down. I'm gonna get rid of Twitter and I'm gonna write. And it just came. So yeah. I totally feel you on that. Next question. Homie that hit me up about he said, I told you how I thought Praise Break showed you're no longer conflicted since Boomerang ending Kairos. Did that hit you right away, or did you notice, or you didn't notice till you began working on Praise Break? I didn't notice until you told me.
I appreciate you keeping it real, because you could have really easily gone into, well, you see, I had a plan.
Yeah. Nope. Did I know? Absolutely not. I had no idea until you said something. That's the dope thing about my fans. Like sometimes, like they'll hit me up, like the mic line when I said on Can I Live, this mic is a nice shot, so I walk with a slight bop. My man thought that I was talking about Michael Jordan. I was just talking about a microphone. So he was like, yo, I like the Michael Jordan line. And I was like, huh? And he's like, yeah, the mic nice shot line. I was like, oh, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Oh, see, you could have even gone with Tyson, right? Nice shot, so you walk with a nice bob. Like, there's a lot of
people on times who don't even ask me how, son. See? I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it just comes. I just write it and it just comes out. What else? When when writing, do you set out to be transparent, or does it just come out that way? It just comes out. It just comes out that way. Have I written stuff that was too transparent to put out? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why there's no Chevy Impala Music 4. There was going to be, Scared of Me 2 was originally going to be Chevy Impala Music 5, but it didn't fit in the Chevy Impala Music vein. I was like, oh, this is more Scared of Me, so it went there. But there's a Chevy Impala Music 4 that will never see the light of day because it's too much. It'll never come out. But yeah, I don't set out to do anything. I just kind of write. Are you still in contact? This is what I was laughing at earlier. Tony is stupid. Are you still in contact with the infamous woman you've mentioned in It Ain't Hard to Tell? He said he was going to talk about it earlier. So if you don't know, the line goes, I'm turning 30, my desire is to be married, but keep meeting women who don't want a ring, they want to swing. And the only episodes I'm cool with is The Walking Dead, fighting in my mind while shorty off his head. She could do it and no one would know, but I fear screenshots on MTO, so I'm ghost. Still might entertain it, so pray for me. Do I still know that girl? No. No, I don't. But that was more than one girl. So, like, you got to realize when I'm out in these clubs doing these shows,
grind.
You know, like, they're not, like, I mean, even in churches, like, the venue or whatever's there, like, that doesn't change. Like, go watch, shout out my man Sean C. Johnson. Shout out my man Sean. His web series, Life is Art, was like exactly what happens. They will approach you after the show. It will be totally, oh my God, you were amazing. You know, I haven't felt the spiritual connection like that before. I appreciate you talking about God, yada, yada, yada. You were dope. You were this. And it goes from there. Sometimes I reject it. Sometimes I entertain it for a little bit. Sometimes I entertain it long.
Well, I think we lost Armond for a minute. Let me see if we got any other questions. Otherwise, I think we're probably going to call it a night unless Armond hits me back real quick. I'm looking at This is Kairos hashtag on Twitter. Hold on, everybody. So be transparent. Armond, you back?
Yo.
There you go. I was just telling people, like, we might have to give up for a minute, but
yeah, we could wrap up.
No, I was just trying to see. Is there any other questions?
I'm getting a phone call right now that I can't answer because I'm on this call. Shout out to Ian, who does all my design work. I can't talk to him right now. I'm gonna go through this thing right now. No, I think that's it. Let me check the Book of Faces real quick. See if there's any. No, I think we're good. Okay. Well, let's wrap up. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate.
I think Armond froze again, so let me just say on Armand's behalf, thank everybody for watching. Thanks to Tyler Burns for having us for the first hour of the show. And as always, check ArmondWakeUp.com for more for Kairos Week. Use the hashtag This Is Kairos. Let us know what you think. I'm sure, as always, Armond and I will respond to whatever questions y'all have. And we'll catch y'all later.